Hey guys, it's EJ again. I am back from vacation. I've been gone for about a week. Came back a couple days ago, but I am now here with my guide for what I feel we should be running. Um, like I said, I missed the whole week of the arena season. We still came back in a pretty strong going of testing. So I'm just gonna give you guys what I've been running and what I think works, just for some reference. These are my three shadow priests I have for solo shuffle. Right now, I'm ranked number 6 on my main, 51 and 26, 66% win ratio, 13 and 5, 72% win ratio, and 6 and 0. So I have three shadow priests I'm trying to play on top of also playing a marksman for my friends. But this is my solo shuffle, and then in threes, we're looking at 42 and 22, so another 65%. 45 and 14, I am cranking on this SP for 76% win ratio, and 31 and 16. So we're averaging about 65% on all the brackets on all three shadow priests, right? So pushing slowly but surely. Like I said, I missed the whole week of the arena season, so trying to catch up. But what I have been exclusively running, so you guys know, is Void Weaver. I have not played Archon at all. I started it in the beginning of the season. It felt terrible. It was so easy to shut down, in my opinion. It felt like after your plays are over, you did no damage. So I went back to what I ran on the beta, and I ran Void Weaver on the beta. And yeah, as you can see, I have been legit cranking on the Void Weaver. Like I said, we're top 6 right now, with a big nice win ratio. So and very low games played, right? We only have 51 games played. Like, just for comparison, I think some of the people have probably some low games played, but let's just do a comparison here. This guy has 117, WizK 66, fucking legend, right? This guy's 195. This guy's 107, right? This guy's 56, a little bit more than me, about 10 CR difference, right? So some of us have some low games played, but the majority of these players over here have like hundreds of games played. So you know, you got to make do with what you can with as little games as possible for to get like what is your highest chance of success is how I see it, right? So I have been running Void Weaver. I'm just gonna go through what talents I'm running for Void Weaver and why I think they're good. And obviously you can spec into what you feel is better based on your preference, but I'm gonna give you my example, right? So still the basic Void Eruption build with Shadow Crash, and I like having targeted Shadow Crash on cue, without a doubt, every time. There goes the baby. As soon as I start a video, every time. Yeah, I like targeted Shadow Crash. It feels amazing in an arena. Having to it'll follow people, like if it'll get people out of stealth. It'll follow mages if you get them right before they go invis. It'll follow healers. I like it. You can just do it around a corner real quick and throw it at somebody so you don't get gripped or dotted. I think it's nice. Um, I do play Mental Decay to get stronger Surge of Insanities. I play 2 in Dark Evangelism to buff my Insanities, but also buff all my dots. And if you guys don't know, Void Weaver is very dot based and like has 30-second goes that are pretty strong, right? So this buffs all that. Um, and then I play just the regular Void Torrent. I've tried Insidious Ire, but majority of people just kick you on Void Torrent. So a lot of the time, I'm hardly channeling full Void Torrents ever. Sometimes I'll take Ire and Shadow Play when I know they're not going to go me. But even then, it's still a rare condition that I do it. I like having the pad better. So you could just choose to do this if you want. You drop some talents if you wish. But yeah, so and then I play Screens of the Void to um, proc my ticks faster, which can give me more insanity from maddening touch. But it also again just does more damage, more pad damage. And I've actually been really liking Nazoth. Nazoth has been giving me about 4% of my damage lately, which is a lot, right? 4% of additional damage to pad. People just end up rotting, and people actually go nowadays. So this feels really good, especially in threes. And then I personally run Mindbender for the 1 minute Void Wraith. Um, it just feels nice to have go every 1 minute, and then every 30 seconds, and then every 1 minute. So you essentially always have a go. you could run Depths of Shadows, but then that make you have to run Death Speaker, and then you have to run Kistivation. You have to drop 2 points, and I run a very tanky build on my priest side, so I don't do that. But just we'll go into that later. So yeah, so essentially I run a pad build, and I run Auspicious Spirits here because it just increases apparitions, but again it generates insanity through your through when you summon apparitions. So the more insanity you generate, the more pressure you get through this build. So this is what I'm running right now. Keep in mind, Unfurling Darkness does an insane amount of damage in Void Weaver because it gets buffed by Inner Quatus, and when you pop Void Heart. So I've been bursting people for like 1.2 million Unfurling Darknesses. It's like our only spell that hits for that hard. So it's really nice. Yeah, this is pretty much what I'm running. I'll link that below. I almost always run Catharsis, Fade, and Siphoned inside of Arena. If I'm never the target ever, I drop Catharsis, and you can run Mind Games if you're playing with Shadowplay, or you can run Driven to Madness if you have like just dots on you. So instead of Catharsis is like not like UA dots, but like let's just say you have a Death Knight dots or whatever. Then you can run Driven because you're not gonna get as much Catharsis value. But if you're fighting Affilocks, Catharsis is always up, so you should run it. But I rarely ever spec out any of these. Sometimes I'll drop Siphon for Void Volley if I'm playing like Warrior Mage, or sorry, Warrior SP or Rogue SP, where we have an MS and I'm the target. So, but generally I just run these three 99% of my time. So, going into the Priest tree, actually let's go Void Weaver first. Going into the Void Weaver tree, I personally like Dark Energy over No Escape because you get to kite with your Void Torrent and you get your 20% faster. So a lot of the time, I'll pop a Feather, I'll pop a Fade to get my slows off, and then look how fast I am. I'm a freaking zoomer, so I can get away from melee and just continue to do my damage. Or else I have to channel my Void Torrent while I'm right there, and melee just get right back on me anyways, right? Even with the slow, I'm gonna be slowed, right? Like people are like, oh, run the 70% slow. You're a Shadow Priest with no mobility. I could slow somebody while standing still, and they're still gonna be right back on me. That slow's not. I'm not gonna get away from them. Like I channel my Void Torrent. All right, they're right here on me, and yeah, now I can Feather Fade. But then as soon as that fade's done, I can get slowed again. And that extra 1 second, 2 seconds that I would have had by getting off that sprint with the kiting Void Torrent would have given me enough distance for them to have to waste their mobility cooldowns, and that's what you want, right? You want them to waste their mobility cooldown instead of trying to sit there and channel a Void Torrent. But also, the Void Torrent is so good into melee and casters. When you're going like this, and you just go behind a pillar, get your full damage off, come back out, right? Start pumping damage. So if you don't have the moving with Void Torrent thing, you're sitting there waiting to get kicked. And I've gotten so much damage off just Void Torrenting and running behind a pillar, and then coming back out and getting a full Void Torrent off. Because if you guys did not know, Entropic Rift's 8-second cooldown does not start until you stop your Void Torrent. So if you stop it instantly, then it starts counting. But if you channel it fully, it stays 8 seconds until that Void Torrent's done. Just to show you, look at my buffs, right? The Entropic Rift, my Void Heart still 8 seconds, and now it's going to count down. That's Void Heart right here. While Entropic Rift is active, so you know how long your Rift is up for, and when it's going to explode for your collapsing Void. So, just to give you an example, a lot of time I just really love it, and you always have a slow on your team, whether it be your Warlock, whether it be a Hunter, whether it be a Rogue, you have a slow. So even your idols, you have a 30% slow. So I personally, like I said, I just like it. I like being able to Feather, Fade, and then run away really fast. And then if I get slowed now on this far away, they have to use commitment to get to me, right? Instead of me just sitting there and channeling a Void Torrent without moving. So I like it. Run what you want. Inner Kratos, like I said, big damage. Can't really not choose it. Going now, let's just go through the choice nodes. Void Empowerment. When you summon your Rift, you get Mind Devourer. Mind Devourer is this ability over here that we don't spec into anymore because we have to waste points to get to it. But it's essentially you get a free Divine Plague that's 20% stronger. Actually, is it with 2 points? Is it 40% stronger? Actually, I haven't spec'd into it forever. Let's just see. No, it's still 20% stronger. Okay, so yeah, you get a 20% stronger Divine Plague. Every time, so you just get to do an on hit that hits really hard, and then the dot's strong. So you get to stack your dot during your burst, right? So you get your dots up. You use your Void Torrent. Come out. You have a big on hit. Another I have 3 DPs. I have 4 DPs. 4 on hit DPs, and then that dot, right? That dot is ticking for 472k. Look at that. So you get to stack your Devouring Plague that's ticking on its own for a crap ton, and then the on hits itself, right? You get a bunch of on hits for about 200k. So you get about to 1,000,000 on hit damage plus the dot. It's really nice. So that's what Mind Devour is. That's what I prefer, that one over making my Rift go longer, because the only reason for your Rift to go longer is to cast Void Blast, which you hardly ever cast. So it doesn't really benefit us in PvP. Down here is very you have to keep these two in mind: Embrace the Shadows and Void Leech, because one is for when you're not queuing into certain things, and one is when you are. So Void Leech is when you're the target. It will siphon 3% of a nearby ally's health every 2 seconds, which is great when you're being attacked by melee or being trained. Sorry, my baby. So you want to run this whenever you're the target, or whenever you could possibly be swapped to. It's better to have. And then Embrace the Shadows is what you want to run into a dot heavy cleave. So Shadow Play, you don't want to run Void Leech, because one, your teammate has to be higher health than you for it to work. And then two, you're just essentially adding a dot to your team because it takes 3% of their health. But if you run Embrace the Shadows, you get a 3% magic damage absorption, and you get to heal for all shadow damage taken. So Shadow Play is all shadow damage. So you get to have a 3% wall plus your other walls over here, and you have to heal for it. You don't want to run Void Leech into things like Shadow Play or Shadow Cleave. You want to run Embrace the Shadows. And then these other nodes, you can't. None of these are choice nodes, right? Keep in mind, Collapsing Void is very strong if you can pump DPs into it. So generally, my rotation, whenever I get my Void Rift out, is channel my Torrent, and then start pumping my Devouring Plagues if I have them, right? Because you want to make your Rift go stronger, and it'll hit harder. So big thing to do there is just, if you have Devouring Plagues, first thing you should do is pump it into your Collapsing Void before anything else. If you have 3 of them, pump all 3 of them into your Void. Make your Void do a crap ton of damage, and then start doing your Flays and stuff. Because this will rack up a crazy amount of target damage, especially if it's single target. So keep that in mind. Devour Matter is garbage. I've deathed a million things in my time, and I can't break a single shield past like 80% of its shield. Most shields are over 1 million right now. You might do 300,000 damage to a shield. They still have a 700,000 shield. It's better to dispel it. Devour Matter is absolutely trash. It says Shadow Word Death consumes an absorbed shield to your target, dealing 214% extra damage. The tooltip is so off there, because it says consumes the shield, which means it should take it away, and then it does 214. It doesn't. It just does an additional 214, and death hits like a wet noodle. So it's a wasted global. Barely does anything to any shield in the game. It barely takes off our own shields. If you do it against another Shadow Priest, it barely takes their shield away. I hate that this is a thing. I was very excited when I first read this. I thought it would consume a shield off somebody. It does not, so kind of sucks. Unfortunately. All right, outside the Void Weaver tree, over here, same thing I always run. No different from any of my other videos. I go down this left tree every game. I run Spell Warding or Blessed Recovery based on if I'm queuing into crit-based melee. So if I'm queuing into a Rep Pally, if I'm queuing into a Marksman Hunter, a Windwalker, or a Fury or Arms Warrior, I run Blessed Recovery for the extra healing. And then versus anything else, I'll play against Demon Hunters, Death Knights, any caster. I run 3% Magic Wall. So I get 3% Magic Wall here. I run Protective Light for another 10% wall here. And then I run Manipulation for another 2% wall here. Right? So all these combined make me very tanky. And as a Void Weaver, especially in Soul Shuffle, people ask me, how do you not die? How do you deal with melee? I just don't die. If my teammates end up winning, or I live into the deep dampening of Soul Shuffle because I'm tanky, and then I win the match. I don't care about trying to one shot. I don't care about I need to pump the best damage, guys. I need to do this. No, be a Shadow Priest. Be tanky, run away, hit targets, run away, CC, run away, and then in dampening, you just win the game. Like, people just want to pump, play Archon, do big numbers, act like you're a Destrolock, and then wonder why they're stuck at 1600, right? For me, it's so much easier to just play to live than it is to try to just always try to kill somebody, and that's why I win. And that's why my win rates are always so high, because I play what's most efficient, and in my head, most efficient for a Shadow Priest is defensive gameplay. So, with knowing how to be offensive, don't get me wrong, you have to know how to be offensive, but being defensive is very smart. I also play Bulwark and Powered Life personally. Powered Life has saved me a bajillion times paired with Desperate Prayer. You Desperate Prayer, Powered Life at the same time, and you'll get like, I don't know, 4 million healing out of it based on dampening and MS. But I get on average 700 to a million power life heals, and that's like 15% of your health right there, and it has a 15-second cooldown. I love it. I personally always run it, so you guys do what you will on that one. I almost always run Mind Control, and yeah, this is what I run on the Priest tree. What I've always ran. The only reason you see Halo here is I like to keep it in my mind that if I ever have to play Archon, Halo's in my peripheral vision, so I'm used to seeing it, so I don't have to relearn. Oh wait, I have to Halo to do burst now. So I've had people on stream ask me, why do you have Halo? Divine Star's trash, and Halo just helps remind me that there's another build, right? So that's what I run, guys. It's very, very easy. Very the breakdown's simple. You just spread your damage and send your rift every 30 seconds and pump into it. I guess a general rotation of how you want to start a match. You can either start with a rift right after rip to get Insanity rolling, but I generally wait because rift is a lot of damn. So I'll generally just go ahead, spread my dots, and then I'll save this Unfurling Darkness, throw out my Void Fiend, go into Void form, Unfurling Darkness, silence the healer, and then send my go, right? Because now the damage ramping. Stun the healer, and now I'm ramping damage. And if I'm next to the healer, which I generally will, I'll fear them. But that's how I normally start my go, right? I send my damage and then my CC. But I do it at the same time, right? So I send my ramp, right? I send my ramp, and then I'll see, okay, get into Void form, send my Unfurling, stun the healer. Because now my target's like 70%, and then I can do all my rotation, and then fear the healer, and then Void Torn if I want to, right? And then start pumping, and then silence the healer or whatever. I generally don't try to burst at 100% HP because it'll force less cooldowns because you have a lot more to go through. So try to spread your dots around first if you can. Wait for your go to happen, and then as you're about to start your go, or once you get into Void form, then send your go. Don't try to stun and then Void form and then silence, and then the globals will count to being less during your CC chain. So try to get your Void Wraith out, try to get your Unfurling Darkness up, try to get into Void form, and then send your go. That's my recommendation, all right? And then pump your DPs during your Void Torn, right? Once you're doing your go, you Void Torn it up, right? You can do a DP, stun the healer, DP, Mindful Insanity, silence the healer, DP, fear the healer, right? Like, you can do however rotation of CC you want, but try to fit your damage in there and don't leave a gap. And that's how you're going to do the most damage. I win a lot off of Mind Control. You learn how to use Mind Control, guys. It is very important to make people, like, let's say a healer, like a Holy Pally, is using his Divine Steed after you do your CC chain. You still have Fear DR, right? So you could, let's say you fear the healer and he ends up way over here, right? Well, as you see it, let's say he's Divine Steeding around the corner. Start pre-MCing him, and then he's on Divine Steed, and then you make him run even farther back because he has a movement buff, and now he's over here. And then he comes back again, and you do it one more time. And then he has to no more Divine Steed, no more Sprint, and now he's waddling, right? I can't tell you how many times, if you're in the stream, I've done that to people, and they're like, whoa! Because now they're over here, no sprints, no nothing. Their target's at 22%. They still can't heal, they still can't heal, they still can't heal, and then they die, right? Learn how to use mind control. Very important. But yeah, so embellishments, I'm running the double ring trinkets that proc. I guess you could put that on the weapon or the neck also. But I got the crafted weapon on this character because I made a bunch of pieces in week 1. But yeah, I got the on hit. I think it's elemental focusing lens, I believe it's called, on my 2 rings. And then radiant power. I was using authority of the depths enchant, the dot, but then it seems like they stealth nerfed it because it does a lot less damage now. And then they stealth buff radiant power because now it procs a lot. In the beginning of the season, and even on beta, this thing never procced. I would do full matches and never get a proc, and now it procs 5 to 6 times a match. So it gives you an on hit and it gives you a main stat proc. So I swapped to this about a day ago, so just recently. But I think that's the play. I don't have a lot of good enchants yet because I'm a broke boy. I have like 18k, so give me some gold. So yeah, I can't really help there. I really can't afford enchants on my characters. But yeah, so I'm running 2 set also, only 2 set. I won't be going 4 set. It is not good. It's so just so you know, 4 set is only 1% increased damage every time you Devouring Plague. But you have to Devouring Plague, and then you lose. It's only 1% damage for 10 seconds, but you lose a bunch of haste and a bunch of versatility. So you actually do less damage going 4 set as Shadow Priest in Arena because you lose all that verse, which also gives you more than that 1% damage, and it's only when you Devouring Plague. So I'm going to 2 set for the increased Devouring Plague duration. It's like a 10% buff or something like that to your Devouring Plague over time, so that's really nice. But it also increases just the damage itself, so you like that. I'm making a lot of crafted pieces, so neck, rings, belt. I got the World PvP boots, wrists, and back piece, I believe. Yeah. Obviously, the stat prio is still haste versatility. That has not changed. And try to get, like I said, get as much haste as you can. I'm playing Void Weaver because of the racials. Where are they at? Spellbook. General. So, Chill at Night reduces shadow damage taken. One thing I knew that was going to be prevalent was DKs, Shadow Priests, and Warlocks. So it's another extra 1% wall on top of all the magic damage reduction I just went through with all you guys. So it's another 1% wall. Facial Rift. I have done the most insane things in Battleground Blitz and in Arena with this ability. It's the one that you teleport with. So let's say this PvP, this is a team running at me. And let's say I throw my Rift this way and they're all chasing me, right? They're chasing me, I'm doing damage, I'm trying to heal, and then now I'm over here. And then my healer's over here and he's healing me. And now they have to leap, charge, sprint, whatever, and I'm recovering over here. Healing, the healer's healing me, getting my wall up, or doing damage, right? I love Spatial Rift, personally, so. What else? Preternatural Calm is really nice for Season 1, where haste levels are so low. I take no pushback when being hit. So that little small amount you get pushed back a little bit when you get hit is not a thing for me as Void Elf. So I get to just I get to get my full damage out and not have to worry about maybe getting kicked or maybe getting stopped because I got a little bit of a pushback. So yeah, I am playing Void Elf on my main. I do have as you probably saw, I have a human, I have a night elf, and I have a gnome. Shadow Priest also. I think night elf, dark iron dwarf, void elf, and panda are probably your best races in this meta. But I personally think, my first season being a void elf, it feels insane in this meta to be able to do things like last night, right? I just had a nice little 5-1er last night, and I secured 2 of those wins by the healer was right over there. I spatial rift. I started doing damage, and I spatial rift on top of him and got a fear. So he had no chance to outplay it. He had no chance to fade, death, nothing, right? So you can do a lot of plays with being a void elf. So fun. It's a fun thing. And then you also get this thing that always procs right when you start doing damage called Entropic Embrace. You essentially do 5% more damage as Shadow Frost. So what's really cool with this is you know you're just gonna burst off the rip, just send it. With, let's say you're doing threes team with a rogue or a feral, you can just send your go right away, and you'll do 5% more damage on that first go. Because it almost always procs right when I start doing damage in arena, like within the first 10 seconds. See, right now it just popped. Your damage and healing effects deal an additional 5% of Shadow Frost. You get a 5% buff to your damage. So it's just a nice. There's a lot of nice little things with the Void Elf. So yeah, but that's it, guys. That's all I got for y'all. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Come to the stream, twitch.tv/EjrSP. I also now streaming on TikTok and Kick all at the same time, all the same handle. So follow me on any of those, and you'll catch me. And let me know what you guys think about this. Uh, I know I ramble a little bit, but I try to think while I'm talking to you guys about what I think's good. So let me know what you guys think about this build and what other videos you'd like to see. And I'll see you guys in the next one.